I grew up eating canned soup 4 nights a week. When I married into my wife's family, her grandmother worth hundreds of millions asked me what I thought of everyone at the table. I told her the truth. When I married my wife, Sable, I thought her family was upper middle class. Nice house, 2 cars, vacations twice a year. Then I went to her grandmother's estate for the first time and realized I'd married into a different tax bracket entirely. The driveway was a quarter-mile long. The house had wings, not rooms, wings. Her uncle pulled up in a car that cost more than every vehicle I'd ever owned combined. People wore watches worth more than my student loans. And nobody talked about money directly because apparently when you have enough of it, you just stop acknowledging it exists. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. My mum worked doubles at a diner, 0.35. My dad installed drywall until his knees gave out. The first time someone at Sable's family dinner asked where I summered, I thought they were making fun of me. But the strangest thing wasn't the money. It was how everyone acted around Sable's grandmother, Theodora. She was 81, and when she entered a room, conversations shifted like wind-changing direction. Her children laughed harder at her jokes. Cousins suddenly appeared with gifts and compliments. One nephew showed her a business plan he'd clearly printed that morning, just to get 5 minutes of her attention. She owned the family's real estate company and controlled trusts worth more money than I could count. Meanwhile, I spent most family events on the floor building block towers with the younger kids because the adults exhausted me and the kids were the only honest people in the room. One evening after Christmas dinner, I slipped outside for air and found Theodora sitting alone on a stone bench near the garden. She asked why I always disappeared during parties. I told her the truth. I grew up eating canned soup 4 nights a week. I still can't tell when rich people are being genuine or performing. She laughed so hard she spilled her drink on the bench. After that, she started sitting next to me at every family event. Sometimes we talked about sports or old jobs I'd worked. Sometimes she just vented about her own children, treating her like a transaction with legs. Important announcement, she said. Energy that night was unbearable. One son showed up with flowers and a rehearsed speech about family legacy. Everyone positioned themselves as close to Theodora as possible. Even the seating arrangement felt like a chess game. Halfway through dinner, Theodora turned to me and asked what I thought of the family. Entire table went silent. Most people at this table are nicer to you when they think you're about to give them something. A fork hit a plate somewhere. One cousin whispered, "Are you serious right now?" Sable's mother looked like she might faint. Theodora stared at me for 5 seconds and she smiled. Not a polite smile. A real one. The kind I'd only ever seen when we talked alone. "And what do you love?" she asked. I said your granddaughter. And honestly, I think you already knew that because I'm the only person here who's never asked you for a single thing. Nobody said another word for the rest of dinner. People cleared plates in silence. Cars left early. Sable didn't speak on the drive home. The next morning, Theodora called and asked me to come by alone. When I got there, she was sitting in the garden with 2 cups of coffee already poured. She told me that after her husband died 12 years ago, every relationship in her life became a negotiation. Even her own kids stopped calling unless they needed something. She said holidays felt like board meetings where everyone was pitching for funding. Then she slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents for a house under Sable's name and education trust for our future children. I stared at the papers, unable to process what I was reading. She picked up her coffee. "You're the first person in over a decade who made me feel like a human being instead of a checkbook. That's worth more than anything in that folder."